All right, so here we're doing a quick demonstration of the smarter scanning solution that will automatically split bundles and store documents individually with their appropriate indexes. For the purpose of this, we are using a banking style packet for something along the lines of loan approval or other things where there's a multitude of documents that help support the overall transaction. And some of those documents have a unique ID. In this case, we're calling it a CFID. And some documents, such as, say, a driver's license or passport, do not have a CFID, but a CIF ID, but they need to be associated together. So to demonstrate this, first thing that I want to show is that within the content management system, the documents are not currently there. So what you see in our content management system first is a list of searches on the left. Now we can always make new searches. The users can make new searches. They can share those searches with others. There's lots that can be done within the content management portion on its own. The content management system also has a full API system that is makes it possible to call documents forward. So it could be integrated with a bank's document system. If they want to have things pulled directly into their side, they could do that as well. Or they could have it set up on premise. We could do that as well, depending on what's needed. Now, in this case, I've got several different searches. This first one here is a very generalized search with no additional restrictions. And the idea with this is that if I have it set up to look for one thing and one thing only, it doesn't care what the document type is, but if I start typing, it will look for things that have a particular CIF ID so that I can find all documents associated with that ID. So I'm going to click this first and demonstrate pulling up the documents that are associated with this. So here's the CFID field. You can see there's multiple fields. We can do lots to organize this view. I can pull things and move it around if I want. I can change what's visible. So if I want to go into the columns and remove something out, I can do that too. So if I want to remove the, let's see, I'll come down. I'll take out the title as an example. So there you go. So the title's gone. Maybe I want to remove the pages. I can take that out too. Columns, pages. There you go. I can add more in as well. You get the gist. So let's go back and do a search without anything in it. So I'm going to pull this up. And now you can see I have a list of documents. And you can see that it has their CFIDs. But what you notice here, I don't have a ton in here for this demo, but you do not see anything that's like 11111. So what we're going to do for our demo is we're going to introduce a new packet of documents, and they will all have the same CIF ID, and it'll just be all ones essentially. And then we'll be able to come in and search for that, and we'll see that it's here. So I'm going to go back to the search view, and I'll talk about these other searches after we do the push with the documents. So now I'm going to stop sharing, and my counterpart Suresh is going to share his screen, and then he'll walk you through the capture side. At a very high level, the goal of the capture side is to scan in the packet. We'll demonstrate and talk a tiny bit about the fact that we're pulling in multiple fields. Those fields have different formats, meaning we can pull tabular data and single extractions. And then the system will also identify the document breakpoints and identify the doc types during the scan process.
So the system that you're looking at is a system where, once we have the document received, this has the capability to kind of, split the documents into corresponding business documents. So the one that you're looking here is a 11-page document that we have received. And the system was automatically able to split the documents into ID documents, transfer of units, customer registration, and conflict of interest. The different document that got split has its corresponding page numbers listed on the right. Technically, it was automatically able to split the documents based upon the training set that we have. And once we have the document split, now you will have the ability to kind of review the fields that it got extracted. Let me open up one document where we have configured different fields that we extracted. So this is the registration document where we have configured to kind of extract like almost all the fields that we have in the application unit test application form, right? So we have different fields ranging from text field, checkboxes, tables.
Interesting.
Where we also have the capability kind of source highlighted, where if you click on a specific field, it has the ability to kind of pinpoint exactly on the source document where it is located, right? And equally, we can write any custom rules on top of it. For example, a checkbox field is kind of extracted as a raw field here, right? So any field that is extracted as checked, unchecked is being extracted as is. Let's say tomorrow you want to transform this to, let's say, purpose of form, only a new account. We can also do the transformation piece as well, right? Let me quickly go to this.
Let me ask a quick question about this too. I think there's an important detail that just occurred to me that I'd like you to talk a little bit more about. Anyone that's viewing this at the moment is going to notice the same thing that I do, which is when we run this demo, we're doing a lot of extraction details. And for most people, I think that their experience is that that has to be set up as a template. But from what you had said before, can you talk a little bit about the AI piece, the fact that this is all being figured out by AI and that it's not something that has to be programmatically defined in templates?
Yeah, sure. Definitely, Pete. That's really a good question, right? So in the past, the way in which extraction has been done is like, hand choreograph each and every field that needs to be extracted, right? This is prior to the AI era. Now, with the advent of new LLMs and AI techniques, things have matured to so much extent where, we have techniques where, if you upload a document, the algorithm that we have running in the back, AI algorithms, can automatically deduce what fields that are present in the document that you uploaded and what type of field that document has and what are the different layouts. For example, as I highlighted, right? Is it a table field? Is it a checkbox field? So these AI algorithms has the capability to automatically deduce what are the types of fields or what are the different fields that are present in the document and create rules automatically so that, the moment you upload the second document, it will automatically extract irrespective of whether, you need to like hand code all these fields manually. So technically, if you look at the AI algorithms advancement at this point, all you need is just one document that you need to upload, run it through so that AI can scan through different documents and different types, figure out all the fields that is present inside the document. And from the second document, it can extract all the fields that it got configured with.
Wonderful.
Yep.
Thank you for that.
Right. So quickly moving on. Again, as I highlighted, right? So we have the ability to kind of extract any type of field that you have in the document, whether it is a structured form, whether it is a free flow document, whether it's an ID document, so on and so forth. Let me submit this specific document so that, the data that you see is filtered and whatever is applicable is actually pushed back to the smarter system.
All right, and back in the system now, if I start typing again, notice that before we only had 1, 2, 3, 4 that started with 1, and now we see there's a new one, the one that the rest just pushed through. So let's take a look at what gets returned. Aha, so now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 documents all coming through with this CFID on it. And also notice the document types. We've got Social Security, ID card, US passport, and then the forms, right? So let's take a look at these. So when these come in, one of the first things, the simplest, just click one of these and open it. And now we've got a US income form that was pushed through. This one happens to be blank, well, almost blank. It's got a little signature. Not much data in it just because we're doing this for demo purposes. Then I've got another, here's the customer registration form. This is the one that we showed with all the document data in it. etc. Now, again, obviously, we know that the CFF or the CIF number is different. That was for the sake of the demo, right? So let me go back here and then jump into the conflict of interest form, right? So totally different document. And look at the way this breaks out. You can see that the document's been perfectly separated based on the AI's interpretation of the document. Now, the passport is interesting because this document clearly does not have even a place for a CFID, a CIF ID. It's not a part of a U.S. passport document. Same thing with licenses, right? It's not going to be on there either. And then the Social Security, same idea, right? So this is the key elements that we were looking for here. Now, once it's in the system, these documents can be called forward using the API, or you can search for them here specifically. If I wanted to send these somewhere, I could email them, and it would, I've only had one highlighted. Let me attach, there we go. And then if I do an email, I can highlight these and then, see attached, right, and send these to an email, etc. I can pick a specific user. I can type in somebody new. Something like that. All right, I want to add that guy in there. Your packet, something like that. See attached. And then I could send this out. Additionally, for printing, I could do the same kind of thing. And if I have these highlighted, it'll actually try to do all of this. It can send it through. I can tell it if I want to make some changes to the way it would be printed. I can choose the printer that I want to send it to. And then if I wanted to export, this doesn't export the actual document here. This exports a list of the documents, but you can see that nonetheless. If I tell it that I want to view these, it'll open the first one that I have highlighted, and I can go back and select the others for viewing as well. Now, in addition to that, if I go back to my searches, let's say I go in and I look at request for transfer search. Now, this one also only asks for a CFID, but if I do a search, what's key here is that it's only showing documents that have a particular type. So in this case, they're called requests for transfers. If I go back to conflict of interest, same concept, it's now being filtered on the document definition. Now we have a tremendous amount of control over that. Identity documents, same concept, right? Lots of identity documents. And then the U.S. income fund, same thing. I can just double click also, but if I don't want to enter a value, you can see our new ones there, right? So from this, you got these separate individualized searches. Additionally, we can create a bundled search. If I go in and delete that out, pull up the same one again. This is the same concept as the CFID search I did at the top, but here, if I open this up, I'm also restricting a bit on what I see. So as an example, if I wanted, I could remove like client ID, or I'll take out the identity documents like that, and then I'll save this. I don't have to save it, actually. I could leave it and do the search this way. And then you can see I'm getting all these, but I didn't have a value in there, so I should put a value in it. Let me do this one more time. Okay, there we go. Done, and I'll put R111 in. There we go. And then for the groups, for the things I'm filtering for, only 2 of those were in there, right? So now I've got a filtered view, right? And that's the basics of how the system functions. Additionally, from here, we have users. So if I go out to administration, I have different documents defined. And under the users, I have new users I've added in. We could put more folks in and also create rules around who can view what. And then the same thing's true with groups. You can have groups where the users are in the groups and the restrictions are based on those users or on the groups. And so any user in a group will have the same restrictions, et cetera. And that is a pretty good high level overview of the admin area. And there's also an operations area where I can go in and view different queues that we might be processing things with. I also have from here, these are, to be clear about what queues are, the system can do many things. It can ingest documents, it stores them for search and retrieval. The way that it ingests them is very flexible. We can monitor file systems, we can monitor FTP, we have ReadSoft is a web monitor of sorts, then metadata extraction, so we're pulling out data about the document, recognition, which there was a new document in our document set. That's what that error is. There was one that the system has never seen, so we would go in and create a new definition for that. I won't show that in this demo, but and then this would be ingested as well. Then the extraction is when we're actually pulling out additional information. So on top of what Suresh showed, where he has the ability in the first side to do a tremendous amount of extraction, we can do separate extractions. And the difference there is that we might be using something like the CFID to connect to a database to pull in additional extracted information from a separate area that is not a part of the document and may not have been known at the time the document was brought in. And that's a big deal. So if I want to add an extraction, I might say the CIFID is a good example of how a unique field that we could use. But we might connect into the database and pull some sort of relevant value that was not available from the documents, like maybe when the customer became a customer the first time before they made this new account request, right? Maybe the person was a member since 1994, right? We could pull that value in from a database on the client's system. So as long as we have the ability to hit that database, we can pull that value in. Additionally, separation. If we saw the documents come across and they weren't separated, we do have ability to break those documents apart. But in this case, it's unlikely that we'd use that through this input method because the front end is breaking everything apart. Bundling is where we group things together after it's come back in. Now, that doesn't affect the way that the documents are stored. This is a really important detail. What we mean by bundling is grouping things by tags is a good way to think of it. So the documents exist as separate entities, but if you have bundling turned on and you want to group them together, we can have it create a single document from those in addition to the individual documents. So if you want to have something like, a good example would be an AP packet or an application packet. Additionally, distributions. So distributions here, we've got file distribution, email distribution, print distribution, database distribution, and FTP distribution. These are all outputs. We can take the documents and write them to a number of different places. Might store it in a folder, might automatically send an email like I showed a moment ago, but now there's no user involved. It just automatically sends out the emails. Print distribution, it can automatically send things to a particular printer. Database distribution, we could write the document to a database, or we could write data about the document to a database. And then, of course, FTP distribution, sending the file via FTP. So there's a number of different capabilities that can be expanded upon if necessary. But for the sake of this demo, we wanted to mainly show bringing the documents in, breaking the document set apart, automatically pulling the index values, passing that into the storage system, and having all of those index values be populated as needed based on the document definition, not purely on what the extraction system was able to pull, right? The extraction system pulled probably 200 fields total if you were to count each one individual, or maybe it was 100, but much, much more than what we used as indexing values, right? For our indexing values, we showed maybe 20, so a subset of those. And so from top to bottom, essentially, that should cover most of what we would envision the use of this particular setup to be. If you have other questions, by all means, let us know. Thank you so much. Again, this is Smarter Solutions, and this is our advanced extraction and storage for retrieval.